Welcome to CPG Vibes. No scripts,
just chat.
I'm Alex Baer.
And I'm Wade Yenny.
Each episode is recorded live, and we talk all things food and beverage, and so much more.
Feel our vibe and search for CPG Vibes on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and make sure to give us a 5-star review.
If you'd like to sponsor our show with your product or service, email us at cpgvibes100@gmail.com.
Now, let's vibe. Welcome to CPG Vibes. I'm not sure what number this is.
180.
Although, Gavin, I just saw a little thing up here. It says, we're having trouble posting to LinkedIn. This may be a problem. We'll keep trying, so it may be fixed automatically. Wait 30, 60 seconds, see if nothing changes. Try ending and creating a new one. So this may be a lost episode. Oh, it says we're live. We're live. Imagine that. Technology is great when it works. But Gavin, what's going on? This is icing on the cake for me. We were just talking before you went on the show. It's been a crazy week. I literally was, I was saying my brain's fried. I just got off several back-to-back calls, and but here we are. We're live. Gavin, what's going on, man?
Episode 180. That's what we're at.
Okay.
The week has been crazy. I'm finishing up 3 weeks of pretty crazy travel from all over the country for my job. And then the last couple of weeks I've been up in Michigan visiting our grandparents, my kids' grandparents, my mom and dad, and Kathy's mom and her grandma. So yeah, it's been crazy. We're going to start our drive down back to Charlotte starting tomorrow. So we're going to split that over 2 days.
Nice. Well, we've got 2 guests waiting to jump on the show, so I'm going to keep this short and sweet. You know the drill. We do this every Friday, 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, live here on LinkedIn. If you're not already following us, please do so on LinkedIn. And then also you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Just search for CPG Vibes. Rate us, give us 5 stars, thumbs up, whatever it is, do that. We've got one sponsor that I want to acknowledge, and that is that is Creative Kaiju. If you run a CPG brand and need design help, Creative Kaiju might be exactly what you're looking for. If it's like having your own design team, but without the cost of hiring in-house. For one flat monthly fee, you can request as many designs as you need. Packaging design, pitch decks, social posts, whatever. No contracts, no hidden fees, just fast, reliable design made for growing CPG brands. And if you put the words in all one word, CPG Vibes, in the box, you get 10% off. I will put the link in the chat, but for those of you listening after the fact, it is Creative Kaiju, all one word, KAIJU.com/CPG Vibes. And again, if you use the code CPG Vibes in the box, you get 10% off. So all that being said, I think we're going to bring in our guests. Gavin, I'm going to let you do the honors while I get some links ready. So I'm going to bring them in, and you can introduce them.
Absolutely, Wade. Well, we have one legend in the space, Jake Karls with Midday Squares. He's been I want to say, almost 10-time guest on this show.
We stopped counting.
Yeah, we stopped counting. He does everything marketing and rainmaking for Midday Squares. And if you follow him on LinkedIn, he is a ball of energy, and he is one of one. And then we also have Andrew Henry, who is the founder and CEO of Revival Tea. He's on a mission to give tea in America its long overdue craft moment. So he will be talking distribution, sales, fundraising a little bit, and all that good stuff. So happy to have both these guys on and chat CPG.
Yo, I'm super fired up to be here for the 10th time, I think. Seeing you guys is so fun. I ran into Gavin the other day, and what is it, Nashville, running around, quick hug. But it's so cool. We go back so long, and these conversations, they just keep everything moving. Like, it's nice to be with you guys. Honestly, I always have fun, and I appreciate you bringing me on the show, and I'm excited for today.
Yeah, awesome, Jake. Jake does have a hard cutoff in less than 30 minutes, so we're going to start with some good questions for Jake and Midday Squares. Jake, it's been, ever since I started following you, probably 2020, it seems like every year you guys are going through something crazy, right? You guys have had some awesome marketing campaigns. You guys have shared your struggles. You guys have shared your personal struggles and things like that. But you guys also do an incredibly good job of highlighting successes. And a couple of those successes I want to dig into real quick. You've launched at Starbucks over the last year or year and a half, I feel like. You've launched at Target multiple years ago now. And you guys recently launched in Costco in Canada. And just business updates with that, how that's all going, and from there I'll pry in a little bit more.
Yeah, well, you two both, you guys know best about retail. You guys are some of the earliest supporters of Midday Squares without even knowing me prior, so I appreciate that. But I think you're right. I think showing the good and the bad is critical to any organization in CPG, especially on a physical product, because humans today with AI and everything, they want humanization. They want to connect to brands. And I think when you just share, let's say, business updates that are positive, it can alienate customers. But when you share the other side too of some of the struggles, the adversities, you really bring people together in a full real life situation. We all go through shit. We all go through hard times. We all go through great moments of our life. So sharing those is critical. And you're right, Costco Canada has been a huge moment for Midday Squares. It was about a year, almost a year, no, 6-7 months ago that we launched officially in there, and in the refrigerated set there. And it was a huge mission because at first we were rejected for quite a while. Then we did these road shows, and we ended up, crushing it, like literally giving it everything we had. We did social media, we had influencers, we made so much noise. And that road show, we ended up blowing through the sales goals that we wanted to do. And what it showed was that it showed to Costco that, hey, the members want the product and they're willing to pay it at this price point. And we ended up going in there and we've had a huge success. But once you're in there, I think it goes with any retailer, is you got to keep people aware. You got to keep it relevant, top of the mind. You can't just put it on the shelf and expect it to sell. It's very unlike anything just to sell naturally, just being there. Yes, there's anomalies and there's things that do that, but most of the time you got to water the plants. And I think with all the accounts you named before, including Target, we've been watering the plants, learning promo, learning how to merchandise, learning how to keep it in stock, learning with the buying team and the category managers how we should succeed there. And when you have that two-way communication, I think any CPG brand can learn that two-way communication is how you really win. I remember Jimbo's with Wade originally early on in the early days of Midday Squares. There was a two-way communication that allowed us to get some growth with Jimbo's because we understood what Wade needed. We understood what he wanted, and we were able to work with that. And I think that's the key to CPG is listen and execute. And I think that's been some of the big wins for us, for the last couple of years, was learning to listen and execute on what the buyers wanted and what our consumers wanted.
Awesome. No, that's great. On Costco a little bit more. So you started off with road shows, and just from a number perspective, what was the goal that they wanted you guys to do from a sales standpoint during those road shows, which are like 4 days, right? Thursday through Sunday?
Well, in Canada, they're a little different. So I think they're 12 days in Canada. So in the first week, I can't remember the exact number they wanted, but it was a significant number, and it was a lot of product, and it was fair. The high amount that they said was like the not the ceiling, but like a really good situation was really high, and we beat it right through in the 6 days or something, or 7 days. And the reason why we did that was because if you make a splash at the beginning, you create momentum, you create awareness. You get maybe the HQ to look in and say, what's going on with this roadshow? Why is there so much buzz or hype? And everyone has the power to do it. And everyone said, go 1 day or work 2 days. No, we worked every single day at the roadshow. My partners and I were there on the ground every single day from 8 a.m. till 8 p.m. closing every day. And I think that was a key factor. Our customers got to meet us, got to hear the story live, got to give us feedback, constructive criticism, things that we needed to do to get better. And as we were doing that, we were documenting it, Gavin. You talked about social media before. We were sharing the day-to-day updates on how we were doing every day on the roadshow. And what that did is it got people like not gamified, but like it was like, oh, I want to support, I want to be part of this. And in the end, we got local press, we got everything, and it was a great story. And again, Costco's team, I think, loved it because now we're selling really well through there in the category. We're leading the category in terms of our snacking set. And it's been a hell of a ride. But keep in mind, it was 3 years of no before that.
Yep. No, that's fantastic context. What I love about that is you guys did the roadshow thing. You guys were rejected for 3 years. A lot of brands, a lot of founders, they might be hesitant to do those road shows because it is a lot of work, right? Like,
And it costs money.
And it costs money. Like, you got to get a hotel probably. You have to fly. I mean, if you're in the United States, you more than likely have to fly to these road shows, spend 4 days there. It's 9 to 9 here. So it is a lot. And then you can't just do it by yourself either. Like, I think what you guys did, documenting it day by day, going in there in the morning, doing content, leaving at 9:30 at night or whatever time it closes, like, that shows them. I mean, again, that shows the buyers how invested you guys are as a company.
And we were grateful, Gavin, for the opportunity. I think, like, it's easy to take things for granted and be like, oh yeah, it should be there, quotations. But no, this was like, we put the work in, and we appreciate our buyers from both West and East have been absolutely incredible. And again, open communication was critical in understanding what they needed and what they wanted. And we just took that information and acted upon that. And I think that that's how you win at retail, given you have the right price point, given you have product market fit, and given that, it's the right distribution, I guess.
The hustle.
And Jake,
yeah, go ahead.
Sorry,
go ahead, Gavin.
Follow up one more time.
Go ahead.
Jake, just follow up. What's the Costco look like today? Like, how many stores are you guys in? You guys did the road shows. Are you guys in permanently? Or are you guys still doing cycles? How does that look today?
So I think we've been in there for half a year now. At this point, we're still going, hopefully. But we started in 30 stores in Canada, 30 on the east side, and then it increased to 70, and then with the West, and then it increased to about 90 something. So there's 100, and I don't know if there's 100 or 104, including business centers, maybe 108, including business centers, but Costco Canada's are extremely efficient. They do a lot per store, per warehouse. It's insane. So we're almost, I guess, across every single Costco in Canada. And we're still learning. It's months later and we're still learning. Again, listening and learning. I think that's the key. And they're a great retail partner. That being said, given that you're in Costco, that doesn't mean you don't give the love and everything to all your other partners, that doesn't matter small or big, that have supported you. And I think that that's what a lot of brands forget when they go into these big retailers, is they forget. And we're doing our best effort to continue to show love evenly across the board.
Love it. I was gonna jump in, Gavin, and welcome Andrew, and tag in him for a second, just real quick. Revival Tea Company. Jake is kind of famous, whatever you want to say, and he's well known, but I think you're on a little bit different path, and I'd like to give you a little bit of an opportunity to introduce yourself, your company. I've got the website up. It's revivalteacompany.com. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your company, and where you're at.
Sure. Yeah, we started in 2018, so 7 going on 8 years now, and started on 20 grand of credit card debt and out of our kitchen, and turned into the fastest growing tea company in the country. And as
Is it just me?
No,
froze, Andrew.
Froze.
You froze. All right, Andrew, if you can hear us, you're frozen. We'll come back to you. All right, let me. All right, you're back. He's back. Just like that. All right. We thought it was gonna be Gavin that had internet problems, Andrew. We heard you started around 2018. Just take it from there.
Yeah. So I think the last time we were doing a burnout episode, and when you become the fastest growing tea company, burnout is one of the things that comes from that. So, we do things a little different. Our heart and soul of our business is the brick and mortar stores. We have 2 currently. We're opening 12 across the Midwest over the next 4 years here. And then, we do D2C to our website, to Amazon, and then about 25% of our business is wholesale. So we're in about 2,500 doors coast to coast. But in a way, it feels like we're just getting started.
Nice. And we just got a question. I don't know if it's come on the feed here, but I see it over here, and that's from your friend Gavin Brianna, or Brianna. It could be either way. I apologize. However I'm supposed to say it. I'm correct either way. But Andrew, we'll keep with you, and then Jake, I want you to answer the same question. It's if you had just $10K to spend on marketing a food startup in 2025, where would you allocate it to drive both awareness and sales? So we'll start with you, Andrew, and then we'll flip it back to Jake.
It's a great question. For us, it's funny because I was telling you guys right before I hopped on, I moved to Cincinnati 4 weeks ago, and all we know that's worked for us is what we've done so far. And it's not sexy, but it's getting out and setting up a tent and serving tea to people and meeting people and letting them know, hey, we're new in your city, and then getting people to try the product. So I would probably use that 10K to go to 5 markets a week and just sell and serve a bunch of tea, frankly, and get out to the people.
Nice.
I love
Jake?
it. I love it. What do they call it? What do they call it, Andrew? Is it lips? What is it? What do they call it when lips to mouth or something? I don't know what it's called with them when they sample
Liquid to
products.
lips.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not in the liquid space, so I don't know. But yes, that's a great question, Brianna, or hopefully I said it right too. But um, I would spend the 10,000 a little differently because we've done demoing and it's good. And like I said, the roadshow is extremely it's demoing more or less at an excelled level. But what I would say for us, I would go spend that 10,000 on like 3 months of hiring like a like part-time videographer to create the content, because I think that at the end of the day, everyone's on their phones, or most people are on their phones, on social media, on the internet. And if you can get people's attention, you could sell them anything. And I think that if you could tell your story, which shouldn't cost money to tell your story other than the production actual to it, I think that you can get the viewage to get people excited about what you're doing, and try and believe in what you're doing. And I think that with $10,000, you can get someone to help you edit the content and do that skill set while you tell the story. So I would do that.
Nice. Gavin?
Jake, back to you really quick. How's the Starbucks business going for you guys? And like, can you just talk to the audience about how long it took you guys to pitch those to pitch the Starbucks folks, and the length from starting to finishing and to where you guys are at today?
I'm a huge fan at Starbucks. Generally, I like their business. I think it's phenomenal. I go there a lot, and I think for Starbucks, it's a great eye thing for any brand. So for any brand that's going to go, into food service or coffee shops or anything at the mass level or tea shops or whatever it is, you're getting a lot of eyes, right? Doesn't mean that they're going to say going to buy product, but they're going to see it and then they might buy it either there or they might buy it somewhere else. And the key to this world is, aside from social media and marketing, I think is getting people to see your product and your brand. And it's kind of like the old school method, like put every billboard up in the game, get people's eyes on them, and then eventually they see it at a store and they buy the product. I think that that's what these food service channels do, and they're very hard to work into because you need specific distributors, you need specific things, and it's not like necessarily, sometimes these ships are big to move, right? So it takes a long time. They're not dedicated 100% to grocery products, per se. So it takes a long time. And I think that, again, get creative, get on social media, post your story, get the attention of buyers. They're, sometimes, their emails are overloaded. So get on social, add them on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on TikTok, wherever they are, and create content that matters to them. And maybe that will capture their attention. And if your products, I always say, excuse my language, F yeah or fuck yeah, then it will find its way to wherever it needs to find its way over time. And I love Starbucks, but there's so many other food service, like universities, for example, airports, airplanes. We've been trying to get on airplanes for so long, but our price point's a little too high, unfortunately. So we're trying to figure out how to do that. But that touch point and that awareness is insane, right? So that's the way to look at food service and those touch points, I think is more marketing-esque type of thing.
I think that's an excellent point. And shout out Starbucks. They, I think they posted Tuesday or Wednesday that this past Tuesday was their strongest Tuesday ever in company
Let's
sales
go.
history, with the launch of pumpkin spice season and all that kind of stuff. So good job, Starbucks, or great job.
What
And
a business! It's global. Think about how big
crazy.
they built that business.
It's crazy.
They took coffee and made it cool. Like, what
Super
a
cool.
business!
Yeah,
Somebody
Super.
should do that with tea,
Yeah,
I think
Andrew, you're next.
I think Jake, you brought up a really good point though. Like retail, is incredibly hard, right? You could have a great product, you could have a great brand, you could have great packaging, but ultimately it's got to resonate with customers. And retail is incredibly expensive. So there are these other opportunities that brands should think about with food service, whether it's quick service restaurants or Starbucks and coffee shops and things like that. If your product potentially fits in that, that is going to be a consistent form of business for your consistent revenue stream that you get POs for regularly, especially if the buyer loves your product and the consumers love your product at the end of the day. Plus, it's a lot less competition. So I think that's something that every CPG company should be looking at as they continue to scale and not focus entirely just on retail CPG.
We had Gavin, just to tell you, we had a store early on. Unfortunately, they're not in business anymore. It's a sad story, but in the end, when they didn't have that many products in the store, it was a bagel shop, okay, like a nice little Montreal bagel shop. And because there wasn't that many products, they put our product in the refrigerator there and in the grab and go aspect. And the amount of product it moved was insane. And the reason being was less decisions to be made for the consumer, perfect fit, bagel in a square or like a little coffee in a square that they had there. And it worked extremely well. And I think that if you as a brand are thinking about how to build your business, yes, there's the Targets of the world. Yes, there's the Walmarts. Yes, there's all these amazing retail partners across Sprouts, Whole Foods, whatever. There's all these amazing ones. But to supplement the success in those stores, you also need to find out where the shoppers are that are going to those big stores like Target. Are they also going to a coffee shop? Are they also going to a gym? Are they also going to a place where they could see the product again? So familiarity kicks in or it resonates, right? It's very hard to convince someone to buy something today. Their attentions are limited, right? They're overwhelmed with information and tons of product. So if you can get in their face more in the right places with less competition, you get a way higher chance of selling your product in the other location that they shop at on a regular basis.
Yep, we'll snip that whole segment right there. I think that's
I
got amped. My heart rate went up.
There you go. I was going to say, you're not high energy to begin with. So Jake, and Andrew, we're coming back to you. Jake's going to be leaving us here shortly. Jake, you've had a lot of challenges over the last call it 6 months to a year. Between tariffs, cacao prices have been crazy. You also, I don't know how long ago you made a change from, correct me if I'm wrong, from organic to non-GM. You've done a lot. There's been some challenges. Kind of update us with the state of the union with where you're at, and then kind of, forward thinking. What's the next 6 months look like for you?
So I think one of the biggest challenges of our business was obviously building the manufacturing plant out. I think that, you guys all still got to come visit, but it's basically, that was one of the most complex things. We're not engineers. We were not food entrepreneurs prior. And we built this place, on theoretical stuff, and it ended up working, obviously, like I'd say 90%, but just the problems that come with manufacturing is insane. But I think the biggest thing we dealt with last year, that was the biggest blow, wasn't geopolitical stuff or anything like that. It was actually cocoa prices. So cocoa is obviously a significant ingredient in our product. It's actually like almost like 40%, right? So when it jumped from, I don't know, what was it, 4,000 a metric ton, I think it was, we were paying to, or whatever it was, to 13,000, we almost went out of business because we were profitable. We were coasting as a business. We were actually growing really well. And then this cocoa thing destroyed our margin, literally destroyed. And there was no access to cocoa. There was literally zero access unless you paid that extremely high price. And in the end, we had to figure out our way of what we're going to do. It wasn't coming down. It wasn't like a cycle or like a year. It's been now 2 years where these prices have stayed pretty exorbitant. Now we're starting to see finally the come down a little bit. It's easing off a little bit, which is opening up a ton of margin for us. But I think that was one of the craziest things in our life. So what we had is two options: look for cocoa, alternative cocoa, or do we create a product that is not cocoa related that we can start to diversify so that over time our margin could be higher and that it could balance it as we scale the business. So we ended up doing that. We started to fix all of our other ingredients and get improvements on margin in other areas that we were able to, like packaging, efficiencies on manufacturing, other things that could work not cocoa related. Then we decided to work on a product that was non-cocoa at all, zero in it. So it was a completely different snack that has no cocoa in it. It's coming out in January. It's already ready. It's just went into shelf life, which allows us to create an entire line now that works on our machinery for our current manufacturing plant. That is a completely different product. It's squares, but it's a different afternoon snack that has no cocoa. So that was one of the biggest challenges we dealt with, and it drained money. It drained a ton of capital and a ton of burnout within our organization. Secondly, the next 6 months to 6 to 12 months, we're actually expanding our manufacturing plant for larger expansion, but that will take almost 20 months to build out. So we got to put on these big POs for machinery, which is custom made, that will take about 18 to 20 months to build. And that's a big step. That's nerve wracking. We have to grow into that capacity over time. Like, it will take time, but that's a big decision that we're about to go swing on. We already submitted the proposal. It should be approved hopefully by October, but it's scary. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. It's scary. It's a big thing that's gonna happen, and it's either gonna work or not.
Go big or go home.
It's been 7
Sounds like an
years
incredible
of
opportunity at the same
pain.
time.
Yeah.
Derek wants to know if it's a midday meat stick.
No, there's no meat. It's still plant-based. It's still plant-based. I can tell you this. I don't want to say the product because we haven't shown it to our partners yet, a lot of the partners, but I can tell you this. It's a snack that people love that have had their whole lives, as kids especially, and we basically made it an indulgence with function and really focused more of Midday Squares on creating an indulgence taste. So we're actually focusing on instead of just being a functional product where there's that taste of functionality, but we're actually focusing on how do we create that same function with a taste that's more like nostalgia or more like it actually it curbs your sweet cravings and stuff like that. So that's where we're moving the business towards.
Well, if there's anything I know about Midday Squares, it's going to be awesome innovation. It's going to be great tasting, and you guys have already built a brand. So you guys already have a huge community that's going to go out there and support it. Taste is everything. If you guys nail the taste, I'm sure you guys will continue to thrive with it.
I'm going to send you guys
moving over to you. Beautiful. Do it. Andrew, moving over to you really quick. You have kind of a completely different strategy than Jake. Would you just want to kind of talk about what your strategy is when it comes to retail and food service and brick and mortar stores and all that good stuff?
Crazy, man, because we just wound down our manufacturing the last 18 months. We were at a place that we had to go from. We started in a commercial commissary kitchen with food truck vendors, and then we grew into 5,000 square feet, and we were at a place, right, that we needed to go to 20,000 square feet. And just like, you guys were forced with it, and your product's so different, but it was like, are we going to just keep doubling production? Like, I'm not an engineer either. And production could be it was the biggest headache we had to deal with. So we were really fortunate that we kind of our own co-packer of sorts. But we moved to co-packing the last 18 months, and that was very painful. Choose your pain, right? Choose your difficult. Building our production was painful. Switching to co-packing was painful. So, all that being said, we swore we would never do brick and mortar. And I also go back to something else Jake said, where you have to listen and listen and listen, and said we'd never do it until every customer that ever walked up to us at a farmer's market begged us to do brick and mortar. So we did brick and mortar, opened it, a month before COVID, and, learned a lot of lessons from that as well. But for us, it's clear 7 going on 8 years in that for us, we all hate begging buyers to stock our product on their shelves, and we wanted to hold the power, as twisted as that sounds. And it's like, well, how about we just have the brick and mortar and we keep the margin? And we go about it very different, where on the grocery aspect we say, listen, I've got 20,000 customers in your market, and it's more of like, do you want them, or do I need to go down the street and put them in the other grocer, frankly? And with that, we get by without paying a lot of the slot fees and a lot of the different things that other brands do. So it's more about just, we're going to focus on the high margin opportunity, which is our brick and mortar. It's over 80% margin. And I think it was 4 or 5 years ago, we said in an article, we're out to be the Starbucks of tea. Howard's inspired me a lot. I've had a chance to talk with him a couple of times over the years, and I think tea is ready for its Starbucks moment. But Starbucks what it used to be, not what it's been maybe the last decade.
But Andrew, Howard Schultz is a legend. How he built his business. I read his first book, and that guy is fascinating. The obsession and the care and the love that he put into his customers, and listening again and building an experience that was so innovative. Just fascinating. But Wade, you put up Derek's statement. I think it's important, that one that you put up before about, spending on retailers. So return on investment on digital platforms of the retailers. They're getting better and better, these platforms, with data. And there is really good success on investing, if you get the hang of it, to driving revenue, and also working with your buyer and category manager who actually gets rewarded for this, right? So that could be a huge win-win for everybody. But also Instacart has been a huge win for us in terms of marketing. And it works extremely well because we're refrigerated. It's a lot harder it's not always the front row of the store or the produce section. Sometimes it's the dairy in the back section, and it's a lot harder to find. So Instacart allows us to get front row placement if we want, right? And it's affordable, in my opinion, as a business to spend on that, because it shows up as a sale anyways in the back end. So I don't know. I would say that Derek's right about spending on that platforms if you do it right and not recklessly.
Right. And I would be remiss if I didn't, we joked about the midday meat stick, but Robert Kogan had a question about your new product. If you'll share, if it is refrigerated, so you're staying in the refrigerated space.
So Wade, we really believe that, and this could be wrong, right? Again, we're no expert in anything, but we really believe in refrigeration. Given that it's in hard destinations in the store, it's getting better. We see it moving more to like produce areas and stuff like that, where it should be, in terms of like snacking there. And yeah, so we're going all in on refrigeration for now. We want our entire set and our product lines to be refrigerated. And I think when you start mixing it, that's when things get really complex. You get distracted. There's a lot of differences between the bar aisle compared to the fresh snacking aisle. There's way more limited space in the fresh snacking space, but at the end of the day, the bar aisle, there's decision fatigue. There's all these different things. And when you start splitting your resources, that's when things start to slowly crack down. And I think that we'll just stay focused on what we're good at and what we've learned. So yeah, refrigeration. We could be wrong, but that's where we're going.
Awesome.
I think that's a great idea, Jake. Like at the end of the day, you're creating a brand block in those sets at that point.
You nailed it.
More marketing. Yeah, and it's more marketing for you guys. People are going to continue to see MDS, midday squares, whatever. They're going to correlate the two together. If you're playing out in the grocery section or another section of the store, now you got two different customers, two different marketing opportunities. It's just confusing at the end of the day.
And it's a great set. If you look at where it's gone, some of the brands that are in it with us are phenomenal. You look at Perfect Snacks, you look at Once Upon a Farm, you look at, Mush, you look at, there's a bunch of them now that have grown that are not small. Clio, they're not small businesses, right? So they've created a destination for this customer who's it's a unique customer. In our case, it's a mom that's buying our products. So she's going there and she's looking for different treats for herself and for her family. So there's different aspects to each brand that does that. And I think that it creates a great cart for the person, right? So it's become a destination and we're just excited to be part of it, I think.
Nice. I wanted to touch a little bit. We talked about digital and spoiler alert. Gavin's been working hard behind the scenes with guests in the future, and we're going to talk some data and things in the future. But the whole digital aspect, I think you really can. I'm going to even bring it back up on the screen about specific retailer platforms. So you can go to a Sprouts, you can go to the Fresh Market, you can go and actually partner with them in their platforms. And so then you're hitting customers that are actually already shopping at those stores. And I know I'm not sharing anything that isn't public knowledge. I looked at it today, my old stomping grounds, the Fresh Market. I think their digital not penetration, but sales year over year, I believe I saw this for Q2, we're up over 20% in digital. So the shoppers there, and obviously your market may vary, but and your retailer may vary, but the online thing isn't going away anytime soon. And so the more you can interact with your retailers digitally, and the shopping patterns are changing, right? Certainly there's a large percentage, the bulk of the percentage of customers still coming in brick and mortar and doing their shopping, but that digital shop from home, whether it's Instacart, what have you. So I think Derek's point is well taken there, as far as hitting retailers where their shoppers are, and putting your money where it is. So yeah,
dig that way.
But it's like, it's the same thing as like spending on like an Amazon, right? If you're going to spend recklessly and not put strategy behind it, it's not going to work, right? It doesn't,
right.
It just because it's advertisement doesn't work. Even if the shopper's there, you got to listen again to them. They know what they want, and you got to know your customer. So for example, if you're of a competitor that you understand has similar shopping habits and you want to target that on those platforms, you can, right? But I've seen brands spend just recklessly, and then they don't understand where their trade spend went or all this stuff because they just got lost, right? So I think that go slow with it, but collaborate, but go slow, and then increase as you get better and more comfortable. And I promise you, you're going to see returns on that if your shopper actually uses those digital platforms 100%.
And I think too, Jake, as we're talking about agencies and Amazon and all that kind of stuff, you really have to work your agencies. At the end of the day, like if you're paying them $10,000+ a month and they're expected to go out and get you sales, you have to listen to their feedback. And you also have to kind of start becoming an expert for Amazon, or with your Amazon business or your Meta business, whatever it is. You have to dive into it as the lead for your company, so you can hold the agencies accountable, or whoever's managing that business for you.
Yeah. I love you guys. Okay.
Love you, buddy. Good seeing you, Jake. All right, now it's the Andrew show. We got to dig in here about Revival Tea. And I want to put your link up because I don't know that I got to do that earlier. It's revivalteacompany.com. Any with what we've just been the topics we've been talking about, and appreciate your patience. Is we knew Jake had to run, and this was gonna be a solo show with you here, so it's your time to shine, my friend. So a little bit what we were talking about as it relates to digital and things like that. What's your strategy look like? And you've already shared your omni-channel approach, right? You at least you were before we went live. With your brick and mortar, you've got Amazon, you've got brick and mortar, your own stores, but then you're also doing retail. So talk a little bit about that as it relates to the digital component and what your strategy is.
Yeah, so 50% of our revenue today is in brick and mortar. 25% is in wholesale, which is split amongst, our best-selling wholesale items, a refrigerated chai concentrate that gets distributed on dairy trucks to coffee shops, right? So there's a lot of people who've had our chai and not even known it because it's their chai that their local coffee shop serves. We're in grocery and single coffee shops and whatnot. But on the D2C side, which is a quarter of our business, it's split between Amazon and, direct to our website. And I wouldn't say that Amazon ROAS is cranking right now. Like you could throw a lot of money at Amazon and get a great, ROAS, but they're still going to take 40 cents on every dollar of their fee. And it's pretty easy to see when, their sales went down last year. Like if we know one thing, Amazon's always going to get theirs. So I wouldn't say that, honestly, across all channels, we spend on Meta, we spend on Google. Google Shopping's always been a really strong performer for us. But Amazon, from an advertising perspective, is the easiest one for us to spend on, but they're still going to get 40 cents on every dollar. So we don't aggressively scale spend because of that. Because at the end of the day, like we really focus on top of margin opportunities as, we're trying to run a profitable business.
Nice. And Gavin, I don't know if you can see that. I'll tee that question up for you from Robert Kogan relative to Andrew and the tea shops. Oh, you're muted, buddy.
Sorry, I had a crying baby in the background.
We have a guest appearance.
What's the Revival situation in Seattle and elsewhere, and how many stores, how many retailers?
Yeah, so we started in Spokane, Washington, which is about 4.5 hours east of Seattle on the other side of the Cascades. So right on the Washington-Idaho border. That's a 500,000 metro over in Spokane. So we've got a store in Spokane, Washington. We have a store in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. In terms of wholesale relationships, coast to coast, we're in 2,500 doors. That could be a coffee shop. That could be a grocery store. And then we ourselves, we're focused on the Midwest. Forward, we're opening 12 stores across the Midwest starting Q1 of next year.
Nice. And so with that in mind, how and or why from Washington, Gavin and I are Midwest guys. He's in the Midwest right now, but how and why the Midwest? What's going on there?
Yeah, that definitely wasn't the case a year ago. We've got, people from Starbucks, people from Dutch Bros that are advisors and board members. And both of those companies learned that the ice drinks are their major mover. Like Dutch Bros in Texas and Arizona is absolutely crushing it right now. And so we had a thesis around doing drive-throughs. And if you know anything about Revival, like it's not high tea. Like our flagship store was in an old speakeasy. My family used to distill whiskey in Northern Ireland. So we are not, your normal tea company. And we're also not, frankly, like sugary sweet tea. That's not our thing either. So I think what we realized is the South, like there's a tea brand down there that's crushing it with big sugary iced teas, and that demographic loves that. What we learned is 65% of the U.S. population lives within a day drive of Cincinnati, Ohio, and the Cincinnati, the Midwest investor, the Midwest consumer loves brick and mortar. It's not sexy, but it is very thriving over here. And everything's within arm's reach. And so as we continue to move east into, we'll go into Chicago in the next few years, we'll go into New York and Boston. It just puts everything kind of at arm's reach. And then, our inventory currently sits in Illinois. So our 3PLs in Illinois. So that's a strategic play as well.
Nice. Andrew, you seem just incredibly versed on all aspects of the business, and I appreciate that. How big is your company from like a people standpoint?
Yeah. So pre this, we were talking earlier about the restructuring of closing our manufacturing. We were over 50 employees when that decision was made, and so closing our manufacturing facility, and then we tell people that we are easily the most AI forward tea company in the world. If you poke under the hood of how we operate our business, there's really nothing that AI doesn't touch. So we're down to under 25 employees now. But with these brick and mortar stores opening, each one of those will carry about a dozen employees each. But we'll be able to scale our corporate team at a much slower pace than revenue, just because so much of our business is automated now.
All right, so
That's
you
amazing.
can't throw out the AI stuff because Gavin and I are both nerds for AI. So you got to expand on that a little bit. Tell us how you're using it and what's been the most efficient use of AI in your business.
For us, so we do an audit every quarter, actually. I mean, we all know that it's moving so quickly. And so I think for us, we started implementing AI 3 years ago. And, 3 years ago, I think we were using it for like product photography stuff, right? And then today, I mean, to give you just a rough flywheel of all of our internal meetings are of course recorded, but immediately out of that we programmed an algorithm that we can run an internal meeting, and from that internal meeting it's going to actually send out, as long as we keep I'll put it this way, as long as we keep our data up to date. We make a lot of analytical decisions on locations, on new product releases, we could have a capital offer that comes our way, and as long as we keep our data clean, you have to have a human element, but for us, like, we want to use the data that's available. And every single time like ChatGPT gets an update, it's insane how much more processing and analyzing it can do. So we're using it to scout for retail stores and stuff that used to take us, I would say that on an average day, I would say we're probably getting 10x the output from our team that we would without using these tools.
Wow. And I was going to ask you before I turn it back to Gavin, if you, gun to your head, you had one AI tool to use. I think you answered it when you said ChatGPT, but is that the answer?
For sure. I mean, you guys know there's all these like skins that are just using it behind it, but we use it for financial modeling. And like I said, I think the big thing is not getting flat-footed, because what we're using today is going to be irrelevant in 6 months. So it's always constantly auditing how we're using it. I mean, we use it. AI does predictive analytics on our PO forecasting and helping us, within our ERP do all of that. And so, I mean, like I said, it touches ops, it touches marketing, it touches finance, it touches sales. It's really touching every part of our business now.
Gavin, all
That's
yours.
amazing. No, that's amazing. I think a lot of CPG companies are leaning in heavy into that. And I just wanted to touch on the AI aspect when you're talking about finding retail spots. Does that eliminate a broker that you would potentially use for that previously, or do you still have to use a broker somewhat to finish the deal? How does that all work? Because that's probably a pretty significant cost.
That, pre-AI, I think that's a strength of mine, is just like touching and feeling retail locations. Like, I love doing that. I love having a vision for if a store would work out. So you still got to do that. AI now, though, it's funny, man. Like, our store we opened in Idaho, this was 3 years ago, and I literally had to go and drive and walk and put stuff into a Google sheet, and I had like 50 locations, and I think I probably put 300 hours of work into scouting that location and doing traffic counts and all that. And now I can have that model built in an hour, and now all of a sudden I need to go look at 5 locations. And to answer your question, we still use a broker, but at the end, yeah, I mean, we get it all the way up to a point where we're like, okay, now you guys need to do your thing and just get a deal under place. But we don't bring brokers in till the very end.
That's fascinating, man. I mean, again, I hope the people that are listening, if you're not invested in AI, you need to, and then reinvest in 6 months when everything updates again. And, we keep kind of going down this snowball avalanche of AI. So that's really cool.
But even on the marketing front, like we were talking, like, as long as we feed it our data and how our ad spend's going, like, it puts gates on everything. So again, the analytics speak for themselves. So I can, end of every single week, we can look and see what's working, what's not, and where should we move ad spend. And what used to take, someone managing that account time to digest, it's all analytics now.
Wow. And then, like, again, just diving into this for another hot second, how often are you feeding that? Is that a daily update? Is it a weekly update? Is it a campaign update? What's that look like?
Yeah, we're trying to get on a more regular cadence, of course, and it just the list of what we're giving it just continues to grow. So today it's quarterly. We're moving actually into more of like a monthly, and then we have a plan to essentially continue to get more up to date. The biggest issue with us, because we have so many channels, if we were only on Shopify, this would be way easier. But it's getting all of our different POSs and sales channels to talk. And the day that we can get, we've met with so many people that we can make that happen. And the day that we can get all of our data to actually flow into one place cleanly is the day that it's going to be able to be live, and every single day we can make decisions. So it's coming, but they don't all work well together.
Absolutely fascinating. Okay, so you going back, you started your company a month before the pandemic, or about a month before the pandemic started. You've scaled pretty dramatically since then. What's fundraising look like and all that good stuff on your end?
Yeah, so we started in 2018 with a Kickstarter. And then we opened our first brick and mortar a month before the pandemic. We did a friends and family round on the backside of the pandemic to basically build our board out, like a $300,000 round. And then last year we actually did a Reg CF. We raised about 600,000 on WeFunder, which was mostly from our community, which was incredible because it just showed how passionate, our fans are about the company, and that they can actually have real shares in the company. So that was fun. I think we'll do something like that again before we ever do an IPO. So that's been really fun. And then right now we're closing on a safe, a $2 million safe that will be, closing here this fall. Which is funding a lot of this, Midwest expansion in the later parts of it.
Well, we've got a bunch of questions coming in, Gavin. Speaking of Midwest, that teed that up well. We got Robert. Is Michigan on your Midwest list?
For sure. Detroit. And then it's funny, the one I keep getting the most flack on that's in this, AI created this Midwest market report is Grand Rapids was one that was identified. Yeah. That everyone's like Grand Rapids, and it's like the data's there. So it is Grand Rapids. We got 2 Michigan in those 12.
So I'm going to dig into this a little bit more. I'm very familiar with Grand Rapids, lived there for a couple of years. Robert is on the east side, so he's probably, if he isn't putting in something in the chat right now, I know he's thinking it. What part of Detroit is that location going to be?
Detroit is location number 10. So we're not even looking at spots at this point. So the way we go about this too. So like the Cincinnati store that we're opening Q1 of next year, we're bringing in local investors in the Cincinnati market, because for us, we want to feel local, and you feel local by having local people involved. So we're bringing in local investors to actually come in, help us build community. Our next store is going to be up in Columbus. So right now we're actually talking to groups up in Columbus to kind of build community up there. Yep. And I would just say this, every single one, Louisville's planned pretty quickly here, Indianapolis, Detroit, like I said, is number 10. But Louisville's a great example. We've had a lot of interest out of some groups that really want revival down in Louisville, Kentucky. And so it's man, if we met a group out of Detroit that was really passionate about what we're building, definitely can move up the timeline on when we're coming to Detroit.
Amazing.
Nice. And I know we have a question here. There's from Sarah Delaney. Is this same as Corpse Revival tea in cans?
We've done RTD. I doubt you've had our RTD. We make a hopped tea. NA tastes like beer, but it's tea. We actually brew it like beer. We don't just flavor seltzer water with tea. We don't do RTD right now. We haven't canned RTD in a couple years. I would say that we're probably not, frankly, going to get back to RTD till we're probably, over 100 million in top line. We just have so much more low hanging fruit. But eventually, I'm an RTD nerd. I buy everything I can get my hands on. So with time.
Nice. And we got another AI question. And Gavin, I'll tee the next one up for you, Gavin, because it's a good one. But she wants to know if you'll share your AI prompt to get that kind of info. I'm sure it's not just one prompt. I'm sure there's quite a bit, but if you can, just an overview, I'm sure would be. would be good.
It's all how you prompt it. It's been, it's not just one, it's thousands. But I would say this real quick, right? Like, this isn't all just me. Like, I was a musician back in the day, and I am not a gifted musician. The trick was getting a really good drummer and guitar player and bass player, and it makes you sound a lot better when you've got a good band around you. And frankly, like, I have a dumb phone. I'm a CEO of a CPG company, and I have a dumb phone. So I would be lying to you if I told you I was the one, behind the scenes that knew the most about AI. I'm probably not in the top 10 in our business. I just, I get to look smart.
Love it. Here's your question, Gab.
In 10 to 15 seconds, how do you describe your company without looking at the website?
Yeah, I think it would be like coming across Starbucks in 1994. And at the time, coffee was cheap grounds on your fridge, and no one would ever pay $7 for a cup of coffee. And we're sitting there now with tea, in the second most consumed beverage in the world behind water. And before Howard did his thing, it was that way in the US as well. So in 15 seconds, that's kind of where we're sitting at the moment.
I love that. I know this conversation was, or an aspect of this conversation was going to be talked about with burnout. Have you had any burnout? I mean, just talking with you, it feels like you're so passionate, you're so knowledgeable about your company. I don't think you struggle waking up in the mornings, but can you talk about times you have been burnout, what you've done to overcome it?
Yeah, I went through, I think I was on the show, oh gosh, I don't know, 6 months ago. We had a bunch of people on. And I went through a pretty extreme bout of burnout, which came from working 120-hour weeks and working 30 hours straight, and mostly from having that production facility, and getting, we were getting POs at the time, right? Like, anyone who's done this that were bigger than a month's revenue, and it was all hands on deck. And so my burnout was pretty nasty, pretty bad. And I mean, it got so bad for me, I couldn't get up off the floor at times. Like, my wife had to come and pick me up because it was so bad. And there's pictures on my LinkedIn that I've shared of, like, you look at how, you just see it. You can see it in people's eyes. And I ended up hiring a therapist who specialized in CEO burnout. And he did wonders for me. And it's not something that ever goes away. It's just something that you learn to live with, and you learn to manage, and you just put guardrails in to make sure that it never gets as bad as it was. But I'm probably about 18 months now from that really low valley. And it's just realizing and having self-awareness when it creeps its head, which it will, what you're going to do to kind of put the brakes on.
Yeah. That therapist, what was the one or biggest piece of advice or one game-changing thing that they said that you needed to do?
Wow, that's a great question. I think that he said it, but I also had a board member say this, man, who has done some really cool things. And what he said is, he goes, you need to build this company for you. You've served the company a lot, and this company hasn't really served you, and you need to make this so that this company serves you. And that was really impactful. We came out with like 10 commandments as a company, and our number one commandment was fill your own cup first. You can't pour into other people unless you fill your own cup. And, I was the biggest hypocrite in the world because I wasn't doing it myself. So it's something now that we don't just talk about. Like, we're pretty strict on it. If somebody's not taking care of themselves, like, it's not really up to them. We're gonna get them some PTO, send them home, have them take care of themselves, because I know firsthand how bad it can get.
I love hearing that. That is looking out for your family, for your employees, the people that are helping you run the business. I think that's amazing leadership. Kudos to you for saying that and living by that.
Definitely. So we've got a few minutes left here, and Andrew might have froze. I think you're frozen, Andrew. I was just gonna say we have a few minutes left. I was gonna get it there. He's back. You were froze there for a minute. We closing, anything closing that we didn't touch on that you think would be important to share with, we've got people of all walks of life here, whether they're sales or on the buyer side or on broker side, sales, marketing, any closing thoughts relative to, that we didn't touch on that the last few minutes we have that you'd like to?
Jake hit on their cocoa issue that they ran into. And I think in the CPG world, obviously sourcing, I know we move on so quickly now in this cycle of what's going on, but it's still super relevant, right? Like, sourcing's still an issue. Tariffs are still an issue. For us, we we shifted, our strategy earlier this year to focusing on using like a domestic source of caffeine. So next year we're doing a bit of a brand refresh. We know what European tea is, we know what Asian tea is. We never really have identified what American tea is. And there's a really good write-up in the Washington Post if you had a chance to look it up. And my good friend Abby Ann, she's just one of, there's been this group of people the last decade focused on reviving this native source of caffeine. Like we're addicted to caffeine in the US, and there is one source of caffeine that grows in North America that back in the 18th century was over 40% of the tea trade in Europe. And it got, whole deep story for a whole nother episode of like what happened there and hiring a botanist to rename it. But anyways, we're shifting to actually using a US grown tea leaf, which is pretty cool, and implementing it into our teas beginning of next year, and then kind of refreshing the brand as an American tea company. But it's called Yopon. It's a cousin of the yerba mate plant, if you've heard of it. And it's incredible. Awesome health benefits. I still am our tea maker. It's you can roast it into like a black tea, and I truly do believe like we have a product we're going to be able to export to other countries because it's such a good tasting tea. So
awesome. Well, you've got a fan already in Derek Gould. I think he's probably going to be first in line to buy it. He says Yopon FTW. And
if you know.
Yeah, I was going to say we're PG-13, so FTW is appropriate. So, Gavin, anything closing on your end?
No, I think let's call it. I think everybody listening, fill your cup first. I think that's a good, strong takeaway for everybody, whether it's work, family, whatever. Fill your cup first.
Love it. Andrew, thanks for joining us this week. Good seeing you. You're in Ohio, and I hope, even though you're in Cincinnati, I hope you're rooting for Cleveland, although Cincinnati, quite frankly, has a better team. Gavin and I will be back next week on Friday, 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. Same bad time, same bad channel here on LinkedIn. We don't know if we have a guest yet. We'll figure it out. Keep your eyes on LinkedIn. Gavin and I will keep you posted, and we'll see everybody here back next week. Take care.
Thanks, Andrew.